A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on a Thursday, the second day of 2025. Happy New Year to one and all. And Goon, we're back where we belong here at Quaker Steak and Lube in our normal 2 to 4 time slot here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. Uh-oh.
Go. Good to be back here.
There you are.
I missed everybody, Go away for a couple weeks, this and that, up in the snow belt. Come down here today. No snow whatsoever. I don't know if you pulled in and saw my car with the 6 inches of snow and ice all around it. And then the driving, ice melt and stuff like that, the dirt they use. My car is absolutely filthy right now on the outside because we woke up today, there were 6 to 8 inches of snow, and they're expecting up to a foot or two more up in the snow belt this weekend.
Brutal.
They had a winter advisory. Started Wednesday at noon till Sunday night. Okay.
Oof.
We don't know what the hell's going to happen, but something's going to happen. And they were saying anywhere from 2 to 3 feet of snow. And you're just like, what?
All right. I won't complain that much about the flurries in the forecast here for the next few days.
It's unbelievable.
Get some flurries.
Well,
and it's going to be cold.
Worry about it. It's cold as hell. It's colder here than it was up in Erie.
It's going to get colder. It's going to be a rough weekend on the cold front. All right, let's start. Obviously,
who doesn't like the cold? Sorry.
Oh,
French bulldogs when they have to go pee and poo-poo. They're not into it because it's like their bellies are dragging on the ground. Ay.
That's rough.
Sorry,
that is rough. Penn State, of course, gets the win over Boise State.
Nice.
I'll pat myself because it doesn't happen that often. I had it 34-17. I thought Boise State would make one of those 2 field goals, and I thought Penn State would get another one. Had the right margin of victory, though. I'm taking it as a win.
I had 38-16.
There you go.
We were both very close on there. You were actually closer, I think.
Yeah, I had the right margin. Just needed a field goal from each team, and it would have been right on.
The world is going to end. It's over. The doomsday clock has started.
So a couple of things, Goon. Let's start with Katron Allen and the Penn State running game. Nicholas Singleton getting the late touch on, but Katron Allen was nearly unstoppable. I know he didn't get into the end zone, but man, did he have himself a game and was, the featured back in my mind in that game. And it is not, I've seen not much, but I've seen a couple, Penn State, overzealous Penn State fans. Oh, overrated, Genty, not overrated. Penn State's defense did an exceptionally good job of coming up and meeting him. I mean, he really had 2 plays that were of significance in the game. Other than that, and it wasn't Genty not performing. It was the Penn State's defense, which is what, we said going into the game. One of the keys was Penn State had to be relentless in its pursuit, sure with its tackling, but you couldn't rely on one guy making the tackle. You had to hit him and then have a second guy hit him, be ripping at the ball. They got a couple of fumbles out of it. I really do think it had a lot more to do with how good Penn State's defense was than it did with any kind of, Ashton Genty isn't all that. They were geared up for him, and they did a very, very good job of limiting his impact.
I'm going to say this. I mean, how many times do you see a defensive coordinator search out a player at the end of a game?
Yeah.
Tom Allen ran across the field looking for Gentry. Keep calling him Gentry. I know it's Genty.
Yeah.
Genty. That is the ultimate mark of respect, in my opinion. When an opposing coach and an opposing defensive coordinator is looking you up to say to you, you're probably one of the best football players I've ever seen at the collegiate level. And it's true. Watching all of his game tape, my Lord. And you could see it the other night. Like, he just had that explosiveness, but they didn't have anything else. And that was the thing. Again, go back to what I said on the show Tuesday, and that was a good defense can shut down a single-faceted game. I mean, that was what, that was the hallmark of Joe Paterno era teams was. You were a great passing team. They can shut that down. If you were a great running team, they could shut that down. The team he had a problem with were the teams that could run and pass. That's just football in general.
Yeah.
So that is where our strength is as a offense right now is our run game and our pass game, which is pretty much banged and fired up the other night, man, pretty well. Alec could have played better, I guess you could say, but he did just enough. Got it done. Warren had a couple of great catches in that game. I saw he got his hands on and didn't catch, which has been unheard of or unseen this year. But that run game was where it starts. I mean, absolutely started with that run game, and just gives that offensive line, who had some problems with pass protection, by the way. They got to clean that up a whole bunch, but rather have it happen against them than against Notre Dame or Georgia. But they know what they got to do, and they'll go from there. But I was ecstatic for the guys, for the game, the whole thing. They can sit there and say that we had the easiest path. I don't care. We'll just go on the path that they gave us. You know?
Can I go off on that just a little bit?
I'm sure.
Because listen, I don't think there's any arguing that Penn State's path to the Final Four, like, would you rather play, and again, you get into this, you're disrespecting. No, I think SMU and Boise State were both playoff-worthy teams. You know, SMU had turnovers galore that hurt them. I think SMU on a day where it doesn't turn the ball over like that is competitive with Penn State. And again, I think the Nittany Lions were dialed in and made the plays when they had to against Boise State. But Boise State largely was in that game with Penn State. And again, I think largely because it's a really good football team that there's a reason it was in the playoffs. It was deserving. That being said, I do think Penn State's path, would you rather have SMU and Boise State, SMU at home and Boise State in a venue that, your program has had a ton of success in, or play an Ohio State team that's playing the way it is now? Of course, yes, Penn State had the easier path. Again, I keep coming back to it, Goon. Yes, I think things have set up very, very nicely for Penn State this year.
Sure.
But you have to be a good enough team to cash in on that opportunity. And Penn State is a good enough team this year to cash in on that opportunity. Yes, I think the schedule played out very favorably for Penn State. I think the playoffs are playing out very favorably for Penn State. Fine. I think there's a lot of teams. Alabama had things set up beautifully. After it beat Georgia, it's like, man, this is a great path to, a one-loss, maybe two-loss season at the worst. Nope. No. Why? Because they didn't take care of business against Vanderbilt. They sure as heck didn't take care of business against Oklahoma. Yes, it's set up beautifully for Penn State, but then also Penn State was good enough to not stub its toe on days where maybe it wasn't playing its best football or somebody else was playing a terrific game like a Bowling Green or a USC. So, yes, it's set up nicely for Penn State, sure. Here is the thing that I am actually getting angry about now when I hear it talked about on ESPN and other places, and it is this notion. Well, they got to change the system because it's unfair that Oregon has to play in Ohio State and Penn State has the path that it does to the Final Four. Here's why I'm sick and tired of hearing that narrative. Every year in the NFL, there is a team or two that gets hot. And let me start here. The reason Ohio State ended up as the 8th seed, yes, the two conference champions, which again, everybody knew from day one when this thing was set up, hey, that's a potential issue. You might have a couple of teams there from conferences that aren't as strong, just as you have in Major League Baseball every year, just as you have in the NFL every year. Division champions that are like, well, yeah, but that team's not as good as the runner-up, and right. But that's the way the playoff system is set up. And in the NFL, every year there is a team that is like scorching hot as it heads into the playoffs. And a lot of times it's like a 6 or a 7 seed. And, you have a team that maybe is suffered a couple of tough injuries. It's a 3 or a 4 seed. And it's like, oh, man, I'd rather be playing that. Well, yeah, but the resume is what the resume is. Ohio State's loss to Michigan is why it fell where it did. Now, is that unfair to Oregon? I mean, I guess, but Like, you can't not recognize that Ohio State lost to Michigan and say, nope, we're just going to leave them up there and pretend like that game never happened.
Correct.
They have to drop down. And just so, yes, I mean, again, no question, that is a tougher matchup. I think any objective person would say the Ohio State team that is playing the way this team has in the 2 playoff games, playing that Ohio State team, nobody would rather have that than playing an SMU at home and then a Boise State. But in any playoff scenario, you could have, the New York Mets got red hot this year at the right time of the year, and they end up sneaking into the playoffs, and then they win a series. Well, that wasn't fair that the Brewers had to play the Mets. They would have rather matched up. Well, I mean, you don't seed it based on or set up the playoffs with, well, this team's the number 1 seed. We'll just give them the choice of who they want to play. It's no, you earn your spot. And yeah, sometimes you get matched up. Oh man, this is the one team we didn't want to see, and we're seeing them right out of the gate. Well, that's playoffs. Like I'm just tired of the system is broken because we had this game that feels like it should be a later matchup. You have that almost every year in every playoff scenario where you're like, oh man, nobody wants to see that team. And here's a 1 or a 2 seed seeing that team. At the end of the day, you have to win the national championship. At some point, you are either beating the team or you're beating the team that beat the team, whatever team it is that you think is out there. That's how you win a national title. So, yes, do I think it would have been better for Oregon to have faced Ohio State in the semifinals or the finals? Sure, but at the end of the day, the goal here is to win a national title. Does it really matter that much in the overall scheme of things whether Oregon loses that game in the quarterfinals or the semifinals? I'm saying no, not really. It doesn't.
Oh, Ohio State did it themselves by having to play Oregon. I mean, yes, Ohio State lost to Michigan, an unranked 6th and 16. Bottom line, I mean that was, and they said they weren't going to punish a Penn State team for playing in a conference final, so they got in behind us, and then lo and behold, boom, there you go. So, I mean, let's talk about this playoff, though. I mean, think about this. All 3 teams so far that had the bye have lost. I mean, I have talked to you that there is that lull, like having that bye week and having that 2-3 weeks off where you come out very, very different. Your timing is off, and especially specifically on offense, and that's what Oregon looked like yesterday. But I'm telling you, the Ohio State was beating the Bengals last night. That was impressive, dude.
Yes.
It's scary.
And this is, unfortunately, for everybody else, this is the Ohio State that I thought we might see all season long. I mean, not everybody, a large portion of those that follow college football have said from day one, and you and I are among them, that this is the best roster in college football. It is the most talented team in college football.
And the most paid for.
And yes, and there's a reason for it. Now, managing, this is the other thing. One of the other things that I'm getting tired of is, and I really have let Paul Feinbaum get under my skin. And I'm usually pretty good about.
How does he fit with those ears?
Not letting people that I don't really care about their opinion. I'm usually pretty good at, I just ignore it. But he's on just like, if you're following the playoffs, you've got to go to ESPN. They have all of the games. And so you end up hearing some of the commentary, and it is grating to me. And the whole, I don't know if you saw the comments going into, they were talking about pressure on different coaches. And of course, Paul Feinbaum is ready to get rid of James Franklin, is ready to get rid of Ryan Day. The only coach worth anything in college football is Kirby Smart and maybe Lane Kiffin. It's ridiculous. Here, just a couple of things. So it is a talented Ohio State team, extremely talented squad. Sometimes the toughest coaching jobs in sports are managing a team with a lot of talent and therefore egos. Witness Phil Jackson and the Bulls, and then with the Lakers. Like it, yep, would you rather have that talent than not? Sure. But man, there is something to being able to know how to galvanize that talent. We talked about it, Goon, and I thought it was one of the really interesting storylines going into the playoffs. Is this thing could go either way for Ohio State. And it felt to me like Ryan Day had the culture there that they would be able to rally and use the loss to Michigan to pull together. But, so man, it's a lot of faces that are new this year, not new at the end of the year, but new this season to Ohio State. Are they really buying in and going to be there for each other? Well, the answer clearly – after the first two rounds of the playoff, yes, the buy-in, 100%, no question about it, it's there. Even if they end up losing in one of these final two games, it's not going to be because, they checked out the Michigan. And that is certainly a credit to the players, but that is a credit to Ryan Day. That is a big deal. You have a loss to your arch rival in a year where everybody says you have to beat them. You're better than them. You need to get this off of your shoulders, and you don't. And you have a bunch of guys, a lot of guys who are talented but new to Ohio State, new this season to Ohio State. And now they're hearing all of the negativity, and they're hearing that, they may be blocking it out to various degrees in that locker room, but they're hearing it. They're aware that there's this national sentiment and that there's a large, a portion, I don't know if it's a large, but a portion of the Ohio State fans, a vocal portion, that are like, yep, we got to move on from Ryan Day. We've had enough. You can't help but hear that. That's getting into that locker room. They're hearing the talk. They clearly, no doubt, have rallied, pulled together, and put together two overwhelmingly impressive performances here in the playoffs. At home against Tennessee, that is impressive. Against an Oregon team that was playing the best football, the most consistent football throughout the season, and that game is over at halftime. That's the most impressive win we've seen all season by any program.
Ohio State?
Yes,
God,
over
yes.
Oregon.
Jeez.
I mean, it's not close.
No, not even close. And I had to watch with Ohio State fans, so it was.
That's brutal. I'm sorry.
It was. It's like, okay, you're up 34-0. Relax now. Call the dogs off. And it was just like, oh, they scored a touchdown. It was just like, just relax. Yeah, they're a fickle crew. Ohio State fans I think
fans in general, a big program. Penn State's a pretty fickle fan base.
We are fickle about
Alabama.
When it comes to Ohio State. When it comes to Ohio
fickle.
State and our fan base now, it's vindictive. Now it's like we're all the people who hated James Franklin. And it's like, just shut up. Just everybody just needs to just calm down, enjoy the ride. Let's go for two more. And instead, it's all about accusatory. Oh, well, you didn't like this, you didn't like that. Come on, I know you can't say fanatic without fan. I get it.
Yeah.
But the Ohio State game that was. I think I said it 2 months ago. I said Ohio State's still going to win the national title. As long as they get in, and that was our fear. We looked for two things. I looked at two things this year. I wanted to see how Colorado acted when they would lose.
Yep.
To see how they were going to act because it was all about them or all about this and that and whatever. It did. It never really didn't have a great season, but everything didn't happen. He won. Hunter won the Heisman. Shedeur is probably going to be a top 10 pick, which I still don't see. I still don't see it, but
I'm with you on that.
I don't get it. I don't see it.
I
don't. If you're in I know we're getting off subject here. If you're an NFL coach, why in the hell would you want to draft one of his kids? Because he's going to sit there and say he's going to play daddy ball because he's played daddy ball since high school. Wherever they went, he coached. Boom, 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 all four levels. And now he's going to want to – if I was an NFL coach, I would not want that over my head. Either or. But Ohio State was unfreaking believable yesterday. They came out ready to go, fired up. I mean, Oregon, I don't know. Maybe we had exposed some stuff in the Big Ten title game, and Ohio State just stepped on the gas pedal and just blew them out of the water. So we go back to all three teams that were on a bye lost, and it looked like those teams hadn't played. And that's just crazy to think about. And by the way, when we go back to strengths of the two teams that you played. I mean, Texas played Clemson, who literally rode in like Uncle Eddie and his Winnebago, the Homestead on Wheels, into the house for Christmas vacation. That's how they got to the playoffs. And then they play Arizona State, who, personally, it was an unbelievably great game. I loved how they fought in this and that, but they was not a top 5 team in the country yesterday. I don't think. And then the SEC's proven itself to not be as what everybody's thinking they are.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole bowl season, isn't it funny how it just means more to the SEC until they lose, and it just didn't mean anything to us. It just means more when they win.
Yeah.
It's just insane how that whole everything about it is.
Yes.
And I'm
talking about the Alabama loss.
I like Alabama. Alabama is my second favorite team in this country. I've always liked that. I've always liked Alabama. I always respected Alabama. But that's just insane how, their fan base is. It's so fickle. It's so insane. All they talk about is how they should be there. We shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be there. We were this. We were that. And then you go out and lay an egg to a Michigan team who was out 10 starters.
Yes.
What in the hell, man? But it doesn't mean anything. That game didn't mean anything, so it didn't matter.
And listen, I do think there's something to I don't think it's an inaccurate observation. Alabama wanted to be in the playoffs. When you're not in the playoffs, I think it is hard to reset that psyche that, all right, man, we want to play for a bowl victory. I think it is a legitimate issue, but also, again, we keep coming back to they want all of the credit for great wins. And I don't even know that they do. It's more the analysts want to give them, the Paul Feinbaums of the world. I don't know that Alabama's necessarily sitting there saying, man, you can't be looking at our losses. I think they're actually probably more reasonable about it. But it's the ESPN personalities where it's like, man, Alabama got that great win over Georgia. And they did. It was a great win. Yep. They also, again, they don't look at the overall resume, though. You can't discount the loss to Vanderbilt and the hammering
they
took
much
to
tougher
Oklahoma.
Schedule, Jeff. Yes, they do. I mean, look at it.
They got hammered late in the season by an Oklahoma team that, was average at best.
Who they lose to in their bowl
this season?
They all ran together now because I watched it last week. I watched them all, actually.
So Paul Feinbaum, going into the Penn State-Boise State game, makes the comment, and again, I let this get under my skin more than I should. I'll fess up. But he says they're asking, how much pressure is there on James Franklin, or what does this game mean? Everything to James Franklin. If he loses to Boise State, and this is where, again, it's just perspective. If he loses to Boise State, it is an unforgivable loss. Now, words mean things to me, and it's just ridiculous. Any loss in sports, any loss, you can pick Michigan, Appalachian State, whatever the greatest upset that you've ever seen. It happened because on a given day, right? It is inexplicable. It really is. As we look back on it now, I mean, truly, you cannot believe that Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois was not, they were middle of the road to below middle of the road in the MAC. This wasn't a MAC conference contending team this year. And Notre Dame, I think, is going to beat Georgia this afternoon. We'll see how that plays out. But I think you're going to have one of the Final Four teams standing. It is inexplicable. Unforgivable, to use Paul Feinbaum's terminology, except that guess what happened? It was a bunch of college kids going out, and Notre Dame didn't play well that day. Northern Illinois, I think it's fair to say that was the highlight of their season. The best game by a mile that they played. How do you explain it? You don't. It's sports. Crazy stuff happens. And in football in particular, Goon, I mean, it can happen in any sport. And, I'm watching that Ohio State-Oregon game, and it's like, well, where was this Ohio State team when they played in the regular season? What happened to Oregon? And, again, a bunch of things can happen. One is, man, Ohio State just got on a roll. And you saw it with Arizona State in the comeback yesterday. They got on a roll. And it was like, oh, and to Texas's credit, just like Penn State, Boise State got on a roll, and Penn State was able to put the brakes on it and settle down and get control back. That's not an easy thing to do. And I think Penn State deserves a lot of credit because that thing started to roll the other way. And momentum is a big thing in sports and in football. And Penn State and Texas did a good job of, all right, let's regain composure, figure this out, and Texas pulls it out over Arizona State. But James Franklin, if he had lost the game yesterday, if Boise State rode that wave and pulled it out, again, would it be a bad loss in the minds of many Penn State fans and nationally? Yes, it would have. They were a double-digit favorite. I get it. But unforgivable to lose to a top 10 team in a playoff game. Give me a break. Not unforgivable. It's sports.
The problem I have with Feinbaum is this. It's the ESPN, the four-letter shills. They shill for the SEC because they own half of the product.
Yes.
They're always going to push. And it's like, this is the problem I have with the four-letter network is they're always pumping themselves. They make the story. They try to make the freaking news. Like, dude, you're a reporting company. You're a news company. You report the news. They like the news thing. They love creating the news thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell, when this changed or whatnot, but they really think, and let's go to the top with Stephen A, Screaming A. I mean, he thinks that he is the show. He walks around and he shows up on the NBA basketball games, and he acts like he's getting to go play in that game, like he is part of something. Bro, you are a reporter. You were a Philadelphia Inquirer reporter 30 years ago. You've made a great living talking a lot of smack and this and that, but it's not what I think they drive more people away now. When was the last time you watched the four-letter network? Other than a game.
Yeah, I mean, I have this week because I'm trying to lock in.
Are you watching
stuff.
Sports Center or are you watching Game Day type?
Everything. And so the other part of it is like with Feinbaum and I think Kirk Herbstreit is terrific as an analyst. I really do.
Because he can play both sides.
Well, but he's gone over the top here in thinking that the Indianas and the Arizona States and the Boise States, like they're just not as deserving as the Ole Miss. And he drove me nuts with when you watched Indiana, I'm not saying, I forget how he put it, because he said, I'm not saying they're not deserving, but come on, they didn't belong on the same field. The implication being that an Alabama or an Ole Miss did. And I'm sorry, I watched Alabama lose to a Michigan team. That wasn't the Michigan team that beat Ohio State, by the way. And that Michigan team that beat Ohio State is the Michigan team that lost 4 games or 5 games during the season.
6.
And then turned around and, yes, played terrific defense and found a way to win. That was a decimated Michigan team that handled Alabama and caused Alabama's offense a world of problems. So stop with Indiana just didn't belong. I like Herbstreit, but this idea that, well, as an analyst, I can see which teams belong and don't belong on the field. There are blowouts in playoffs.
You can have your analysts all you want.
The NFL, every year, we have blowouts in the first round. Why? Because there's some teams that are better than other teams. Not all playoff teams are created equally. What I am telling you is Penn State would have blown out SMU, Alabama, Ole Miss. Name the team that is ranked below 10. And I'm telling you, Penn State on that day in Beaver Stadium in those conditions was going to win in similar fashion. It wasn't that it was SMU. It was that it was Penn State. And again, I think SMU was every bit as good, if not better than Alabama this season. I really do.
And
I think if they had met
everybody
head-to-head,
they had to beat.
Yes, but I think if they had met, not everybody, a lot of the folks on the four-letter network keep making it sound like, well, all right, but we know that if SMU and Alabama played, I mean, come on. We know if Boise State and Ole Miss play. And I'm telling you, we don't know that. I think Indiana and Alabama, I don't know that Alabama, this year's Alabama team, we're not talking about the brand name and the years where Alabama was all of that. I'm talking about this year's Alabama team. I didn't see anything from this Alabama team that made me think, oh, yeah, man, Indiana doesn't belong on the same field with those teams. Yeah, Indiana, they got handled by a Notre Dame team that has handled everybody since that Northern Illinois game. Everybody, has handled them on their schedule.
No, they haven't had
We know what would happen if. We don't. And that's the thing with sports. You don't know what would happen unless you actually have the game being played. And because a result goes one way or the other, again, it's a given day. It's one of the things I was thinking about as I'm watching that Ohio State-Oregon game. So if that was the only time they met this season, oh, man, Oregon was completely overrated. Well, no, they weren't. They beat Ohio State earlier in the year, and they were deserving of that number one ranking. Well, how do you explain it? It's sports. Mm-hmm. Ohio State got on a roll. Oregon had an off day. That was not the same Oregon team that even played against Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. Well, why is that? They were off. Now, Ohio State had a lot to do, I think, with why they were off. I think Ohio State is playing lights out. But I don't think that's the best game Oregon played. And I thought Dan Lanning was fantastic in his post-game press conference. What do you want me to say? They were a better team today. Like, it wasn't close. I'm not making excuses. They played lights out. We didn't. Mm-hmm. It's sports. It was their day, not our day. They deserved it. That they move on.
I'm going to equate it to
this. It happens in sports.
You can't stand the disrespect amongst teams in the last 5-10 years of just post-game fights, in-game fights, this and that, right?
Yeah.
I always say this. You had 4 quarters to be a tough guy, to prove how tough you are. You want to fight after the game because somebody's doing this or somebody's doing that. So it's the same thing about Alabama. You had your chance to prove how good you were.
Yep.
You had 12 of them chances, and you blew 3 of them. So why are you different than anybody else? They give you a schedule, you go out, and you win, you will go. Sorry. Indiana, the Big Ten, was it up? Was it down? The SEC, obviously it's proven that the SEC is not the SEC of the past 10 years. The SEC is down this year. Was the Big Ten up? It sure is heck proven to be a little pretty up right now with the way the bowl records are going and who they're beating.
Real quickly, before we take our first break, too, and again, we know that an SEC team will be in, and hats off to Texas. I do think they deserve credit, but also, for the love of God, how is targeting not called when you have the review? I have argued for years. If we're going to have review, we at least need to get it right. It drives me crazy when we get review and we don't get it right.
That was a bull.
This was awful. And full disclosure, again, I've shared this story a little bit this week, but we took our kiddo and a buddy to Chuck E. Cheese yesterday. So I'm not watching the game. I'm following along as they're playing their various games, and I'm playing the games too. But I'm following the game. We get into the car. I'm listening to it on the way back home, and we get this. It's third down at Arizona State, and they come up short. They're gonna have to send the punt team on. Oh wait, they're reviewing, and the color analyst, and I don't know who it was, but he's like, I think they're gonna look at this for possible targeting, and they're watching it, and they're both. The play-by-play and the analysts are like, oh, man, like that is clearly targeting. This is going to be first down Arizona State.
Definition of
targeting. That's exactly what the color analyst said. It said is, this is going to be tough, but that is like a textbook case of, and this is before the calls base. Like that's a textbook case. Like that is everything that we talk about with targeting. So this is going to be first down inside the Texas 40. Now, does it guarantee Arizona State goes on and wins the game? No, we don't know that. But man, it felt with the wave of momentum they were riding, you get that first down. Again, we'll never know, and we can't sit here and definitively say, yes, that cost Arizona State the game. But we can say, boy, it sure changed the complexion of that game. And what is frustrating and disappointing to me is, at least I haven't seen it, and I don't think it's been released. that there's been an explanation of why that wasn't targeting. At the very least, to me, the college football owes the fans and Arizona State the explanation. Hey, we know you folks, it looked like targeting because it was, but this is what our review officials saw, and this is why we determined it wasn't targeting. When you don't release the statement and explain why the call was, and I mean, I did get home and then I saw it. I've seen it on, probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 times now. And I'm like, well, I don't, like it, to me, it's clear the crown of the helmet hits first, hits the helmet.
Defenseless receiver.
And he launches. Like it's the whole. So,
doesn't go for the ball.
No. So I don't, like, there has to be an explanation.
Well, our thing is that we hate when referees try to take the game over late in the game.
Yeah.
Play the game that was supposed to be played the whole day. And they did. But that was a targeting call. And they did not want, the referee said, you know what, if we do this, Arizona State's probably going to win this game. Probably. It wasn't a guarantee, but it would give them a sure foot, a pretty good kick in the pants to win that game. First and goal inside the 40, 15 more yards, you're inside field goal range. And I know Arizona State's kicker wasn't that great, but you can't call the game that you called all day, all year, all the last 5-6 years with targeting stuff. Just because it's the last 5 minutes of a game, you think that, we can't make this call right now. Then that's bull. So it's no holds barred then.
Yes,
do you think that anything, it was, okay, we cannot have Arizona State at the Cotton Bowl. We need Texas at the Cotton Bowl. I mean, I'm going to be my father right there and be, it's all about the money. They all care about the money. That's what they want.
I mean, I really don't, but I will tell you, like, the perception that is out there, right? And it's been self-created by ESPN and its analysts. The perception is that ESPN, the SEC network, is all in and wants to do well. When you have that culture and everybody sees it, I mean, and it's patently absurd. To me, it is clearly patently absurd how over the top. Well, the SEC this, the SEC that, Indiana not deserving, Boise State not deserving, Arizona, nobody but Ole Miss and Alabama and the SEC is deserving. Come on. Like, we're pretending that we didn't see the Vanderbilt game or the Oklahoma game or, like, stop with it.
Well, the Tennessee game, that's Ohio State beat
but
when you
have all of that, and then you have a call like this without any explanation coming out. Again, maybe there's something, well, you know what, we had released the photo. We had a photo that showed that helmet actually hit the shoulder pads before it went out. Something. I mean, give us something. This is what we thought we saw. This is why it wasn't called. When you don't have that and you have a network that is so over the top, that is covering the playoffs, that is the home for the college football playoffs, so over the top for a conference, yeah, I completely understand why the conspiracy theorists are out there. And I can't tell you that I have a whole lot of argument against the conspiracy theorists. Like, do I think that's really what's happening? No, but part of it is I really don't want to believe that. Like, I really don't. Because if you don't have the integrity of a fair game, and listen, I know there's a lot of people that believe that we don't. Oh, man, like I don't know where you go from there. And that perception is certainly there. When you have a call like that with nobody coming out, again, at the very least, come out. What was it that you saw that we didn't see?
Did you see the fourth quarter interception when they went to, I was in the bathroom. I came out of the bathroom. I saw the interception and I saw the kid get hit. Arizona State made the interception and then the other guy hit the guy from Texas. And I'm like, they're going to give Texas the ball back. And they said that the previous play is under review. And I was like, you watch, they're going to give it to Texas. They're going to say that interception didn't happen. And it was not targeting because the guy was going for the ball. Thank God they didn't call it there. They made the right call there. But then, that one at the end of the game, that will make you feel like a conspiracy theorist.
It's not good for the sport.
No, it's not good for it. I mean, people are already down on the sport anyway because of the NIL and the pay for play and how many teams are, the teams that are left here, who's paying what. And then that wasn't a good look. I can guarantee you that.
That is
so
for
what's
sure.
going to happen this week? If Georgia wins this week and it's Penn State, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, it's going to be SEC, Big Ten. That's it.
Yep.
And what do you think the four-letter network's going to be yapping about SEC? It just means more because, we may have lost 7 bowl games, but hey, we're going to win the big one, this and that. And that's what they're going to try and hang their hat on.
Yep.
I don't like it. I mean, my personal opinion, I don't like to get political on this show, but it reminds me of this government with the media. It's like I can't trust the media because I think the media is feeding me something else, that they're, helping out the other side, the Democrats, I guess you could say. They're helping out the Biden campaign. They're helping this and that, the Harris campaign. And it's like, is that how you feel, or is that what you're being paid to feel? And because you're owned by them.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man, but the similarities are there.
We'll take a break. When we come back, I do want to talk a little bit more about the Penn State-Boise State game, how it played out, some concerns maybe for Penn State still moving forward, and some things that we're impressed by. We'll talk much more Penn State when we return. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fall.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we are back here on a Thursday afternoon following Penn State's New Year's Eve victory over Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. Nittany Lions now a perfect 8-0 in the Fiesta Bowl, and the Nittany Lions are on to the Final Four. Happy 30th anniversary, dear Goon, of the greatest offense, last appearance of college football's greatest offense ever, in one humble person's opinion. 30 years ago today.
I was thinking about it yesterday, and I'm like, I wonder. I was watching the Rose Bowl yesterday, and I just sat there and said, "What the hell? What was?" Thinking about how long mine ago. I was like, "Holy crap! It was 30 years ago." And then I was like, "Oh, we played them the second." So, January 2nd, '95, we played that Oregon team,
and that's when you and the offensive line went out and just from the get-go showed that you were going to dominate Oregon. You were on top of it. You set Kajana Carter up for the touchdown run. Goon, great job by you and the O-line. Always get the credit on the long touchdown run.
Long touchdown. It was unbelievable. that game was just a lot of funniness to it because one is that first play of the game, obviously you've heard me tell the story enough that none of us blocked the right person. The other one is that I'm on the cover of Sports Illustrated hugging Brian Millen, and I didn't touch a person on that play. He was the fullback. I was pulling from the backside tackle position, and I got knocked off by the center a little bit, and I got knocked off track a little bit. He went into the end zone untouched, and I followed him as the lead blocker. He had the football. He went in untouched, and I ran in untouched. I mean, I hugged him, and we got a picture in the Sports Illustrated. So
I love it.
I touched nobody on that play, and
worked beautifully.
Everybody has the cover of Sports Illustrated everywhere. So my wife asked me. She said, "You heard? I told you before." I was like, she goes, "Does it feel like 30 years ago?" And I said, it feels like 3 lifetimes ago because, you had to reinvent yourself. You were a student, then you were a professional, then you were this, then you were that, coach this. And now we're radio moguls, media moguls. Sorry, Jeff.
Yes, multimedia.
Yes, multimedia moguls. And then, and I was like, but it doesn't feel like 30 years. It really doesn't feel like 30 years. I don't know.
Yeah, it is crazy.
When you start thinking about it, by the way, next year, the 80s, 45 years ago.
Don't even get me started.
And that's nuts to think about. But to go back, I don't feel like it was 30. It doesn't feel like it was 30 years ago, to be honest with you. And think about that. It's 30 Penn State football seasons since. 30.
Yeah.
That's 7 classes of kids that have gone through. And it's just like, it doesn't seem like it was that many. But obviously it is, and time flies when you're getting older, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, how about getting old?
Yeah.
God bless and God help everybody in New Orleans with that, the terrorist attack, and we're feeling for you and all that stuff. And the friends and family, the teams are the safest people in the country, in my opinion. The teams are safe. It's the moms and dads that are worried about this and that, this and that. But I have to say, when they canceled an 8:45 p.m. game and I'm 52 years old, I was like,
I'm with you.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm actually happy I can watch the whole thing today at 4 o'clock.
I'm with you 100%.
Because
it is. Yeah.
I mean, I struggle for an 8:30 Eagles game or a Steelers game for you, but I could have done it with it, but a 9 o'clock college football start after a whole day, and we had some libations throughout the day. That was going to be a long one, but I wish it was on different circumstances, but they should get maybe into 2-2, because those 2 games yesterday were pretty friggin' nice. Okay, I know we're pretty much dropping a lot of deuces on the 4-letter network, but why not take Duke and Ole Miss and say, you guys play? Because they're playing that game at 4 o'clock. Why? Is because ESPN already has Duke versus Ole Miss set up. Just switch the times. I know it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, then you're messing with logistics of
but you're going to have a Final Four, an Elite Eight Final Four playoff game at 1 o'clock on West Coast. You've negated that whole West Coast, in my opinion. It's not New Year's Day.
Yeah.
People are working. Most people are back to work. I'd say, at least half of the workforce is back working. But how many people are going to be can't watch this game at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon out at West? So, whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot easier said than done.
Oh,
those kickoff times. Like, I mean, you have people like the workers at the bowl
correct.
games.
I get you.
Like, they might have jobs. Like, yeah, it sounds great. Like, yeah, just move these guys over there. Well,
but their
it's
choice
not
was
just moving the teams. It is a whole different setup. There's a lot involved, and even with this,
well, the stadium,
I'm really
the
curious.
parking,
Yeah, I am curious to see what the attendance is here today. There were a lot of folks that had to leave because they couldn't get flights changed.
Yes,
a lot of people that are like, yeah, I don't think I want to go.
I
to
did
this
see
game
this
now.
morning the tickets are going for under $50
yes.
right now.
Yeah. So again, we'll see.
That's
how
the
that
play
all
I'm talking
plays
about
out.
right there.
Yeah,
that Arizona State. When I looked at it, I'm like, they're not going to give Arizona State the ball. They're going to take that ball away and say that was a targeting call on the interception. But that was a great game, by the way.
That was a great game.
Who does Scatterhoochie? Who does he remind you of?
From Penn State?
No. Just in general, a Big Ten player.
From Penn State, Curtis Enos is a pretty good comparison. That dude is a load and then some. And you talk about a guy that was carrying his entire time. I mean, we talk about Tyler Warren and what all he does for Penn State. Scatterboo in that game
amazing
was everything.
Throwing up
for
the whole
Arizona
second quarter,
State.
just exhausted.
Yeah.
Then he goes and throws a touchdown pass, but he reminds me of Mike Allstein.
Yeah, he's got a little more. I think a little more to him than even All-Star.
You can watch All-Star. I'll watch him all day.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure he's paying for it now, is what I've heard. By the way,
is that right?
Yeah, he's a little slow up top. I've heard.
Yeah,
which is horrible. But this kid was just unbelievable yesterday.
Unbelievable.
How low he runs, dude. Jeff, he doesn't wear knee pads.
Yeah.
When did this even happen?
Yeah.
You played, I played. Sorry. You played, I played. You had to have knee pads on.
Yeah.
Now these guys are wearing shorts. He's wearing shorts, so there were no pads. God bless him. Crazy is what he is.
Penn State, Boise State, good. A couple of points in that game where I really do think the maturity of this Penn State team showed up big. And, I've heard from some folks, and this is, I don't disagree with them. It's just that every game, and I know there's a segment of the fan base that hates listening to this stuff, and it's like, give me a break. But it is true. When James Franklin talks about that 1-0 mentality, every game really is a season unto itself. And it's different matchups, and there's just all kinds of different things going on. Matchups, the way your team is preparing, whether they're in sync, they're out of sync, whether you have some internal issues that are showing up this week, and on another week everybody just seems to be getting along great. There are so many different dynamics that come into a particular game, and so I want to be clear. I'm not disagreeing. I had a number of friends that, man, they got to clean it up. Penn State can't play like that and expect to win next week. And it's like, well, I don't disagree. Like, for sure, they're going to be focusing on, let's not have the penalties. Let's, take care of the football, all of that. But also the resiliency that team showed. Now, every winning coach, I think, that I saw over the last couple of days, every winning coach talked about the resiliency of his football team. You're not getting to this point of the season. You're not getting to the Final Four without being a resilient team. Yeah. Like, you're not. And listen, a lot of the teams that lost, that Boise State team is a resilient team. That is a really close team. And let me make a comparison here, and you can tell me I'm full of it or that I'm on target.
Full of it.
But this is what I thought as I was watching that game. I thought Boise State was a really well-coached team. I thought they played their hearts out, made a couple of mistakes, but not horrible mistakes. Like, I can't believe anybody would do that. It's like, it's football. And over 4 quarters, I thought Penn State matched their heart, matched their resiliency, and Penn State's a little better football team. I think Penn State has a better – the depth, talent-wise, has a better roster. Yes, and up front on both teams. Well, guess what? So do you think Boise State's coach, they didn't win the big game here against Penn State? Nobody's saying that. And again, I get it. Penn State is a double-digit favorite, all of that. But guess what? When Penn State plays Ohio State, most of the time, there might be an exception or two over the years here since James Franklin has been here. But most of the time, I would make the exact same argument. Penn State can't win the big game. Well, they can't win the big game against a team that is recruiting at a little higher level than what Penn State is, that has a coaching staff that is, again, I think Boise State's coaching staff was terrific. I think they had great schemes. I think they had very good players across the board. I think they had an outstanding player in Ashton Jenny. I think they did a good job getting him the ball, giving him opportunity, the whole bit. I think they played with a lot of heart. They showed up big. They just weren't quite good enough to beat a Penn State team that also has a lot of heart, has a lot of character, I think has a really good coaching staff, and at the end of the day also has a very talented roster. Yep. I think this year Penn State has one of the top 4 or 5 rosters in the country, and I think it's playing itself out. Not everything is equal in every game. Again, for whatever reason, you have games where, again, Oregon, do I think suddenly that team was overrated? Boy, they just did. No, I think Ohio State played lights out. I think they played with a purpose. They wanted, Will Howard talked about it, they wanted to show that previous loss to Oregon was not Ohio State. Yes. But do I think now Oregon's not a resilient team? That's a team that
they're the only team who
it.
hasn't had a chance to prove it because they went that's their only first loss. So.
Yes, and so that is sports. To me, it's just sport. Like sometimes you get a team that they just get on a roll. If those two teams played again next week, listen, I would favor Ohio State, sure, but would I be shocked if they played again next week, Oregon came back and they got some things rolling their way? No, it is sports. Things happen. It still comes together on a given day.
Is it not me and your argument constantly? And that is when it comes to wrestling and football. The team that loses or the wrestler that loses in that second matchup, it's amazing.
So let me go to that.
It is a huge thing.
If this thing plays out the way I now think it will, and I'm wrong 90% of the time, so take it for what it's worth. But
you're hot, though. This is your year, though, Jeff.
And Penn State and Ohio State, I think they are going to meet for the national championship. I think regardless of who wins this Notre Dame-Georgia game,
I'm with you.
I think Penn State, the way it is playing right now,
correct.
And I'm saying even if Abdul Carter isn't playing, with the way, well, we'll get into that in a minute. I think Penn State is going to be in the national championship game. And I think Ohio State is going to be the opponent. If that happens, Penn State, Goon, I mean, you've talked to the players directly. I haven't, I'm reading the comments, but like that is the game I think Penn State wants, even more than Oregon. They would like to avenge either or both of those losses. But to a player, they were coming off the field saying, man, I hope we see them again. Be careful what you wish for, maybe. But yes, so listen, Ohio State is playing lights out. I don't think anybody anywhere will be surprised if Ohio State wins it. But I'm just going to throw it out there. Penn State does have that, oh, man, we think we should have won that game. We think we want to go prove a point. Would I favor Ohio State? For sure. And am I with most of Nittany Nation? I'll believe it when I see it. Yep, all of that. Also, there's a little edge, and I don't think it's the sole reason Ohio State won that game. Again, a lot of things just kind of snowballed, rolled their way, but they clearly came in. Man, they wanted to prove a point against Oregon. They also, again, are a super talented football team. But Penn State is going to want to prove a point if it gets there. And again, I get it. I'm getting way ahead of ourselves. We're allowed to do that on a talk show. I want to see that opportunity anyway for the Nittany Lions.
I mean, did Oregon come out with the same game plan and they had at Alston Stadium when they beat Ohio State? Most likely, yes. That's why would you change something if this had worked before, And then Ohio State went out there saying, well, we got to change up the game plan. We got to change up because we didn't beat them last time. And obviously things changed yesterday and going up 34-0 quick. I mean, that's the revenge motivation. And, you asked me about the players and stuff like that, and I feel that the players didn't feel like they got beat by Ohio State or they didn't get beat that bad. They feel as if they won another shot at that team. And I'm pretty sure they're going to get it. I mean, they're going to have an opportunity to get that shot. And with that kind of attitude, like, hey, they're not afraid of Ohio State.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of Ohio State or what Ohio State can do. So let's roll it, baby. And we're going to break, right?
Yeah, we'll take a break here. I do want to talk a little bit more about what Penn State was able to do, and again, some of the concerns for the Nittany Lions moving into the Final Four. Also want to analyze the season as a whole and talk a little bit about that and where this Penn State program is now. And where James Franklin is in his progression as a head coach. We'll touch on all of that as we continue. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fall.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXX, once again, your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7 The Fox State College, the Goon and Ironhead.
And we are back here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to be. If you are a fan of sports, a fan of good food, a fan of good beverages, a fan of good company, or a fan of good service, if you're a fan of any of those, you're in luck.
There you
Come
go.
on down to Quaker Steak and
I
Lube.
know his place.
And enjoy. Of course, they will have the big Georgia-Notre Dame game on. We'll find out Penn State's opponent in the Sugar Bowl here this afternoon. Kickoff will be just a little bit after we go off the air in less than an hour from now. So check that out, and we'll see. Again, I think you have Georgia, right? I think Notre Dame's going to win this one. I think Notre Dame's
I did say Georgia?
Yeah.
Because I want Georgia, because I said Georgia, Penn State, and Texas, Ohio State.
Well, you had on Tuesday you said you
Georgia
when we went over the.
Oh well, then I had some extra time to figure this out.
Okay.
I'm really miffed by the three teams that had the byes all lost yesterday in the last 2 days. So does that play into this? I mean, Notre Dame played Indiana. Georgia has had off since the SEC, title game. Oregon had off since the Big Ten title game. I mean, they had 2 weeks off in between, but different times. I don't know. I don't know.
The one thing I think is that Georgia, I think, really would like the extra time to figure out what they're doing with their quarterback and how the offense will operate with him. Everybody else was kind of like Gabriel was on a roll with Oregon.
Yeah.
And I do think the timing, I don't know to what degree that factored in, but I do think it factored in. They were not as sharp, clearly, as they were against.
And that
Penn
happens.
State.
3 week layoff, dude. It is a big monster thing.
No,
I got it. We're talking about Georgia quarterback. They have not talked about that kid Gunner, the Gunner something, right? The kid starting now because Beck is out with the UCL injury. I get it. That kid got knocked out of that game, and I mean knocked out. No one is. I mean, he's past protocol and stuff like that. But you know as well as I do, that kid takes another big hit in that game. That's going to change the whole game. And the other thing is that who the hell is their third string quarterback if they put Beck back in that game in overtime to hand the ball off because he couldn't lift his arm. So that's something to keep an eye on, Jeffrey.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. I do think Georgia, of all of the teams with the extra week of the top four, I think Georgia probably was the most appreciative of having the downtime just to, again, maybe schematically figure out how they wanted to approach us. Now, it's not like I think most of these teams, maybe all of them, but most of these teams, yes, your starting quarterback is a star and he's there for a reason. Most of these teams now have, and certainly Georgia has a legitimate big-time prospect as the backup. Now, different than having been out there and proven it, but it's not, they're not devoid of talent. It's not like, boy, we don't know if this guy's going to be able to throw the ball. Now, how does he handle the pressure that Notre Dame undoubtedly is going to bring? How does all of that we'll find out. But, just like kind of Penn State was talking about, if it comes to Grunkemeyer, it's not like they're going to, oh my God, there's nothing we can do. Now, do you know how he's going to respond if actually put in that situation? No, you don't. You might think you do. And hopefully the Penn State players' confidence expressed in him, if it ever comes to that, hopefully it never comes to that. But, it sounds like they feel pretty confident he would show up big. I do want to start there, though, with the depth that this Penn State team has. And one of the reasons I think Penn State is a legitimate national title contender. They lose KJ Winston early. I'm not going to say it didn't impact the secondary because you're not losing a player of that caliber. Again, I think Winston was one of the top 3 or 4 safeties in the country this year. Like he was elite. But Penn State got along fine without Abdul Carter goes down. Goon. That defense, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they didn't miss Abdul Carter, but you're talking, they played basically the second half of that game without arguably the two best players that, if you go back to the start of the season, before the season began, I think we probably all agree those were the best two players Penn State had on defense. It was not devastating that the Nittany Lions were without both those guys. Anthony Donko, I would argue, was the best offensive lineman. That's debatable, but I think he was the best offensive lineman Penn State had this year. Rucci stepped in and has played very well. Not perfect, but man, it has not been a devastating loss for the Nittany Lions. Across the board, we talk about the line play, and it is important and it is big, but it's not like, man, everybody has to stay healthy or they don't have a shot. Again, I'm picking Penn State, whether it's Notre Dame or Georgia, and I think either way, these semifinal games, I think, are going to be fantastic matchups. Again, regardless of who the opponent is here for Penn State, I think it's a really intriguing game, and I think it's a coin flip of a game. And even though even though Ohio State has been playing lights out, do I think Texas has a shot against the Buckeyes? Of course. I think that's going to be a terrific game as well. And I think actually both teams kind of come into that a little bit of a chip.
Remember where that game is?
Well, yes, and that factors in for sure. Down in at the Cotton Bowl, and
so I have a question.
Yep,
they specifically said that the Fiesta Bowl will not host Arizona State. Remember that last week when they said that?
Yeah,
but it's okay for Texas to play at the Cotton Bowl because it's not their home stadium. Is that why?
I think that's probably at least part of it.
Okay.
And part of it is the the seeding, I guess, working out. Conspiracy theorists have at it there with the SEC. Listen, I think the way Ohio State is playing, I'm not sure that it's going to matter. But I will also say, again, we talk about momentum. Like Ohio State, no question, riding a wave of momentum. If Texas comes out and gets the initial score, I don't know. They're still a human football team. Again, they are playing lights out. These last two games have been very, very impressive. The game yesterday was as impressive as I think anything we've seen in college football this season. But it was one game. This will be a brand new game, and maybe Ohio State commits a couple of turnovers that it hasn't been committing. Maybe Texas figures something out and throws
strip sack, fumbles. They happen.
Yeah, it's just so you don't know. Again, every game is a season unto itself. I think both of these games, regardless of, and I think this Georgia Notre Dame game is fascinating. I think the remaining games, however they turn out to be, are really fascinating matchups and should be fun for college football fans. But I think from Penn State's perspective, the physical nature of the Lion play is why I think Penn State has a real shot here of winning the whole thing. And I think we saw that when it got to crunch time and when it felt like, oh boy, here goes Boise State. Now Penn State's,
it's true.
Not.
They had our number there for a couple series there. They were smacking us around here.
They did. And listen, I think Penn State, I do think sometimes coaches, and I love Andy Kotelnicki, and I would not trade him right now for anybody. And listen, if the plays work, everybody, it's not even a discussion. But when you have a couple of 3rd and 1s and you don't convert and you don't run and you have Katron Allen running the way he was and you have Nicholas Singleton putting the game away with his run, it's like, yes, of course, you're going to open yourself up for some criticism. I don't necessarily mind. The Tyler Warren call, to me, made some sense. But I do think you overthink it sometimes. It's like, man, you have an advantage. It's not a guarantee. Again, I'm not sitting here telling you that if they just handed the ball off to Katron Allen, you're getting the first down. I've heard the argument made by some others listening the last couple of days. I'm like, well, yes, would I have done that, and would I have liked the matchup there, and do I think they would have gotten the first down? Yes, but I mean, over the course of a game, even the best running backs, you have a play or two where the defense just is ready for you. So I do think sometimes you overthink it. It's like, all right, they're expecting this, so we're going to get away from it. If they're expecting it, but they can't stop it, and that's what it felt like all day with Katron Allen, I say let them expect it, let them try to adjust to it, and go ahead. When you need a yard,
yep.
I think this year, this team, years past, that was one of the right issues we had with this team is, man, it can't get a yard when it needs it in those big games. It feels like this team can get that big yard when it needs it just by doing what you're expecting it to do.
Yeah, you have a veteran offensive line out there and veteran leadership. I mean, I'm going to tout Dalk up here right now. And like I said, they were out there in the second half the other night. They were going on. I know Rooch had 2 offsides in a row there, maybe a holding call through and through, a sack here, or they were blitzing a lot. And that's why, if you want to go back to the Rose Bowl that we played when Kijana had those long touchdown runs late in the game, that's because they were blitzing every play.
Yeah.
And Boise State, they didn't have the horses to keep up. I mean, that's just the bottom line. It's just you keep them in the game and this and that. You're going to wear them down eventually, and you got to have your horses take over, and ours did. And you got to give our offensive line and Warren and Drew Aller and our running game, our coaches, everybody gets a lot of credit for that game the other night. Because Boise State, I mean, they weren't the national championship contenders, but they're a damn good football team and a damn good program, and it was a damn good win for us. And it's just funny how some of our fans are like, well, you're going to win next week. Just shut up. Just enjoy the ride, man. Don't be negative about everything. So with all that said, today, well, we'll go into today, but, I mean, I loved how our guys, especially defensively, when Abdul went down, there's been nothing come out, right? It's a shoulder injury. He's going to play it by ear. There's nothing. They're not going to give any kind of indication of what he's going to do or not.
Yeah.
So this is one of those big things right now, Jeffrey, and that is that this is, he's a top 5 pick. So, in years past, does he play in a bowl game? And the answer is no. He's not going to play in a bowl. But now you're playing for a national title.
Yeah.
Does he play through that and possibly hurt his career? And that's a scary thing to think about, but it's the truth. I mean, could he hurt himself more, or is he just going to hold out and, say, you know what, I'm in the NFL? It's a big thing for him, a big decision. And, I don't know where the arm is, but, man, he was missed, but he wasn't missed. I mean, I think the guy stepped up big time, but, he doesn't have the big playability of a Abdul Carter out there. But our guys did step up, and they fought, and they played very well to end that game. And, looking forward to today.
Yeah, and listen, Amin Vanover is a pretty special player in his own right. And this is, when we talk about the depth, again, it's not that you're not missing or that it's not any drop-off at all when a KJ Winston's not there or an Abdul Carter's not there or an Anthony Donko's not there. That's not the point. It's not that there's no drop-off or that those guys aren't missed. It's that it's not a devastating consequence for your football team. You have other guys that are able to step up and play well. Listen, Vanover is not doing what Abdul Carter can do.
Yeah.
But he played an awfully good football game and made some big-time plays. Same thing with Nolan Rucci. Say that you just go down the line. And again, I just think that is, and you're seeing some of the tight ends, and we've been talking about it's a great tight end room. Tyler Warren rightfully gets all the headlines because he's making all the plays. But you're seeing Khalil Dinkins start to get more and more.
He's on the field a lot, isn't he?
That was a big play.
You notice that?
Yep. Luke Reynolds is starting, and we've been hearing from day one, man, look out, this dude is special. That they have a lot of players that can step up in moments. I think Amari Evans having the big touchdown catch and just that play on tape now for Notre Dame or Georgia to look at. That is big to me for Penn State moving forward. The production they've been getting from the receivers. Now, I do think Drew Aller is going to need to play better, more consistently, if Penn State is to win the national title. I think in these final 2 games, teams are going to continue to blitz. He's got to recognize and see when there is, yes, the offensive line has to do a better job of picking it up, and the running backs, all of that. But also Drew has to see when they're, all right, man, I got somebody breaking free. Get rid of it. Don't put yourself in a 2nd and 18. Get it back to a 2nd and 10, or, a 3rd and 6 versus a 3rd and 15. Those are big yards given up. And it's a combination. I'm not pinning that all on Aller, but I do think they're got to recognize it, get rid of the football. And, yeah, the offensive line has to do a more consistent job with the protection as well. But I'm watching that Texas-Arizona State game, Goon, and this is what I'm saying and we all do it. I mean, I do it with the Steelers, and I do it with Penn State too. You get myopic, and it's like, well, my team's not doing this. Well, did you watch? Like, Texas isn't playing perfect football. I know Ohio State looked yesterday like it's playing perfect football, but they're not playing perfect football either. They will make some mistakes over the course of a game. So, again, it's each week you got to try to make fewer mistakes than your opponent, force them into more mistakes than you. And do I think Penn State's capable of doing that even against an Ohio State playing really well? I do. Again, if you pin me down with truth serum right now, I'm expecting Ohio State to win the national title. I've thought all along that's the best team in college football. I think Ryan Day is underrated as a coach by Ohio State fans. I think they are a just terrific football team, and I think that culture is, very, very similar to what Penn State has. But, yeah, again, on a given day, do I think Penn State or Texas or Notre Dame or Georgia could beat Ohio State? Sure, and I think the same thing. Everybody else is capable of beating everybody at this point. I think all 5 teams that, as of right now, are still remaining, I think all 5 are legitimately in the running to win the national title. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if any of the 5 that are still alive as we go into 4 o'clock this afternoon.
You see me up here. I'm pointing to this and pointing to that on there, and I know you can't see it on the radio, but I'm sitting here thinking, I'm looking at the pregame broadcast, and I'm watching Notre Dame, and I'm like, dude, it feels like a month since they played. It was the night before SMU for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like it was about a month and a half ago? I know it was the holidays and all that. We've done a lot of traveling in between, but my God, they played the first game of that weekend, so they've been off since that Friday. They've probably been off what? It was December 20th they played. They've been off three full weeks, man. Both of the teams have been off.
To that end, too, I keep talking about how, to me, it feels like everything is setting up for Penn State this year. Add this to the list. The fact that this game got postponed in horrible circumstances, nobody wished it, obviously. But Penn State now is going to have 2 more days. Now, I think there's something to, having a full week might be too much and can disrupt the flow of your offense. Having 2 extra days than an opponent to get ready, I don't know. I don't think that's insignificant, Goon. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you if Penn State wins it, well, that's why they got the 2 extra days? No. I mean, you deal with what you deal with. But do I think that works in Penn State's favor? I do. That's 2 days that they get to rest their bodies and, maybe work on some things, figure things out more than Notre Dame or Georgia is going to have in terms of preparing for the game next week. I think that's maybe slight, but it's an advantage for the Nittany Lions. I don't think there's any coach or player out there that, hey, do you want 9 days or 7 days to get ready for your opponent when your opponent's going to have 7 days to get ready for you? I'll take 9, thank you. Right? Like, that's, again, it
they
feels
both
like
have to travel back
up
tomorrow. They're probably going to be traveling back tonight, to be honest with you. Both of them.
Georgia and Notre Dame.
Georgia, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You think.
Yeah, I would think that.
So they're going to get back to they can start up tomorrow with their preparation. So that is, the game would be Thursday night, and tomorrow's already Friday.
Yep.
So they're already into the Sunday of game week. Yep. It's going to be tough, no doubt about it. I mean, it's again, you're right. It is favoring Penn State in that way. Do you think that they'll change this at all, or is it all just set in stone when the games are and all that?
I don't think it'll change. There was some talk. I saw a couple of different tweets yesterday saying, "Hey, there's." I never saw anything officially released, but it sounds like there was at least some discussion about possibly flipping the two
Thursday
games
and
to
Friday.
allow, to move the Orange Bowl to Friday
but again,
night.
It doesn't.
And the Cotton Bowl to Thursday night. But I think, Goon, if they were going to do that, we would have heard about it by now.
Cowboys had a playoff game.
I think that decision would have been made before kickoff this afternoon. So I don't know for sure, but I would now be very surprised just because of the logistics involved. If you still haven't announced, again, Penn State fans have until 5 o'clock today to get their ticket requests in. Well, if you put in the ticket request and you're making arrangements for Thursday night, and then they come out tomorrow and say, "Oh, by the way, that game's going to be Friday," like you're going to be pretty steep.
You got to spend another another night in the hotel, change your flight. Yep.
So my guess is
they would have done it by now.
Yes, I think my guess is there was some discussion about it. Again, it is not as easy as maybe people think to do. Well, just flip-flop the games, give these guys an extra day. That sounds great, and there's certainly some reasoning behind it. There's a lot of logistics involved in terms of all of the different parts of putting those games on when they're scheduled. And I think the fact that we haven't heard anything by now, I think even if they were seriously considering it, they're like, we can't make a final decision, I think they would at least announce, hey, just so you know, this is a possibility. So the fact that we haven't heard anything today, I feel pretty confident that no, the Orange Bowl.
I was joking
Thursday night and the Cotton.
I was joking about the Cowboys being, they have a playoff game next weekend, but the Miami Dolphins might. Can they get backdoored in there, or is it all?
Well,
gone?
Yeah, but the playoffs aren't until they wouldn't be until the weekend,
Saturday. But if they move the game to Friday night,
well,
they'd have to get the NFL thing ready for
Dolphins
Saturday.
Wouldn't have a home game though.
All right.
Practicing. So, but again, there's a bunch of I just don't think that's. I think we would have heard. I think the decision would have been made and announced by now before Notre Dame and Georgia kick off, if that was the case. A couple of things, Goon, on the Penn State game that I really, really like with this Penn State team. And they need to clean up the penalties. I think Aller needs to be a little more sharp, all of that. But again, I think every game is kind of within itself, and I guess I'm not overly concerned about it. I think Penn State will. I don't think penalties are going to be the reason they lose to Notre Dame or Georgia. I guess that's at the end of the day, my gut feeling, and I could be proven absolutely wrong on that. Maybe it's a bigger concern than I'm making it out to be. I will say, watching the Texas-Arizona State game, place kicking, and as big of a concern as that was early in the season for Penn State, having that pretty well solidified right now, and I'm not sitting here telling you that there's anything guaranteed one way or the other, but I think Penn State probably feels as good about its situation right now regarding the kicking as any of the teams remain in the playoffs, and that's not insignificant either. This defense, well, actually, on both sides of the ball, I think Penn State, and from day one, one of the things that I liked about this team, aside from the depth and the talent, the leadership, is the versatility that they have, the different ways they can beat you. So I will say that the concern for me moving forward, I think this team can beat you a bunch of different ways. I am concerned. I'm watching Ohio State throw the ball all over the place. I'm watching Texas when it needs to. Boom, a couple of 25-yard passes. I think Penn State is capable of doing that. I think Penn State could do that. I'm not nearly as confident that Penn State will do that when it needs to, the way Texas did it yesterday, the way Ohio State did it yesterday. Again, I'm not sitting here telling you that I have no confidence, and, man, Penn State just no chance they don't match up there. But, man, I'm watching the way those teams are throwing it around, and I think Penn State did a great job with Jenny. Where they have struggled is against really good quarterbacks and really good receivers. And where they have struggled offensively is against a good defensive front. And I think Boise State's was okay, but certainly not Ohio State's. It does worry me, even against Notre Dame or Georgia, that the offensive line, as good as it has been, can it hold up? And in particular, can it hold up if the running game isn't as productive? I think that running game is going to get some yards no matter what. But if you get in those 3rd and 8 situations, and it's, man, you got to throw the ball downfield, and they're double-teaming Tyler Warren, can Aller make the right decision, and can the receivers or backs get the ball? Like that to me, and I don't know, my confidence level is not high. It's not low. It's like, I think they could do that. Probably. And that to me, at some point, Aller's going to need to make some clutch throws, right? You feel like that clearly is going to be the case here. And listen, he made some clutch throws against Boise State and against SMU. So, but he's going to need to make more.
Absolutely.
More of those and more consistent right decisions in the remaining, hopefully, 2 games of the season.
Our Achilles heel this year has been the wide receiver room. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We've really,
and I think on the other side, it has been that our defensive backs and D line against a good throwing offense, good passing offense, right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get much pressure on Ohio State, in that situation. I did see this. We did. I believe the total sacks we got this year were 17 before the Boise State game. I don't know how many Boise had on us. They had a couple on Aller, though. But one thing that did jump out of me yesterday, and I don't want to jump off subject, but Oregon had given up 13 sacks the whole season. They gave up 8 yesterday.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
that
Ohio
was
State.
Absolute domination from a Larry Johnson front four like no man's business. They didn't have to blitz anybody. They were getting all that pressure with 4.
Yeah.
And I mean quick pressure, and knocked Oregon out, knocked Gabriel out of
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I don't know that they were ever on schedule.
No. I mean, that was unbelievable.
Like they were just running off
they were
schedule
just
from
ball
the
hawking out there like mofos, and they just absolutely embarrassed them, wore them out. That offensive line had no idea. Now that's the thing. We got to worry about, Georgia. I know that Georgia's got a really good D-line. Ohio State has a great D-line. Texas, Notre Dame, we'll see. I'm very, very, very interested in this game. I want to watch them more closely. Both teams. I mean, I've seen Georgia a lot this year. I haven't seen a ton of Notre Dame, but I am interested to see what they do up front. And we're going to go back for some predictions and stuff, right? I think it's going to be a hell of a game what we're going to have. I don't think these are the top 2 teams in the country, but they're in the right spot with where they're at right now. I mean, they have a lot to prove. That I don't think Notre Dame has really not played. I mean, they can talk as much smack as they want about Penn State, Indiana, and SMU not playing anybody. But their big games for Notre Dame were Army and Navy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, we're going to see what kind of team Notre Dame is right now and today, because Georgia is going to come out ready to go. They're playing in New Orleans. It's going to be a weird environment. There's no doubt about that. Interesting to see. Well, I mean, I'm very, very, I got my eyes, and I'm actually taping this game to watch it and break it down a little bit more. So, I mean, there's the guy right there, Gunnar Stockton. That's the quarterback right there. So, first ever start. Now he's in an a Final Four game. Winner goes to the Final Four. So, interesting to see.
Yeah, but again, he's in his, I think, 4th year in the program. So it's not as though he's, a newcomer.
Oh, he was great. That was a comeback he had
to the Georgia offense. And so, I think he's
I'm telling you, watch him get a big hit. He needs to watch himself. The way that hit he took 2 weeks ago. Wow, man. And I don't think anybody's talked about it, but we'll see.
Taking a break here. We're back with one final segment. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak and Lube.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox, the Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back here on a Thursday afternoon as we continue from Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to come down and watch the college football playoffs, the NFL playoffs coming up just around the corner. Of course, we're heading into the final weekend of the regular season. The beloved Steelers will take on the Bengals in the final game of the regular season. That'll wrap up the regular season schedule Sunday night. Eagles are locked in as the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs.
Okay.
And so Saquon Barkley looks like is not going to play. I mean, I think it's for sure the right decision by the team. The criticism that they would get, and I think Barkley's a little bit torn too. Like, this is a chance to go into the history books, right? And he recognizes that. But he also, he's there because he wants to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's a bigger deal for him, certainly a bigger deal for the franchise. And the criticism they would get if Saquon Barkley goes out there and gets injured and is not available for the postseason, they would be skewered. And I would argue, rightfully so, that the priority here is you're trying to get to the Super Bowl, and especially when you have a running back as important as Saquon Barkley is to the Eagles. Like, why would you risk it? Again, there's no chance for movement up or down. You are the 2 seed. It'd be one thing if, hey, there's a chance we could get to the 1 seed, or man, we don't want to fall any lower. Then there's at least a debate. They're locked in. Like, to me, you can't risk the injury. And I get injury risk at any time. He could injure in practice next week. All of that.
Yep.
What I'm telling you is it's a risk reward thing. You don't risk it.
You have 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen, and Mulata is actually a 4th, but he didn't get the Pro Bowl selection today. He didn't get it, but they're not playing. So people are saying, oh, the offensive line wants this. That's not the offensive line that he's going to have in front of him.
Right.
They're resting those guys. They need that rest.
Yes.
They deserve that. You played to get the bye. Okay, that didn't happen this year. So, okay, maybe if Saquon had made that catch against the Falcons and got the first down and run the clock out, they'd have one more victory. They'd have the bye. So, hey, it is what it is. Maybe he can blame himself. But, no, it goes back to the offensive line. You're not playing your starting offensive line for 4 quarters. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, if you want to say, give me a quarter, and if Mulata gets hurt, Dickerson or Becton or Lane Johnson or, somebody gets hurt. Not just Saquon, one of the offensive linemen get hurt, and you got to go to a backup for your playoffs. That's a stupid call. So, that's an easy decision in my opinion. Once that you can't go higher, you cannot get the number 1 seed. So you got to rest your guys because you don't have a bye week. This is now your bye week, and it's the right call. And if anybody has an issue with that, it's just that's being selfish. It's not being selfish, but it is being selfish because Saquon wouldn't want to do it. Yes, we all want our name in the record books. Absolutely. But as an offensive lineman, you know what I'm saying? We got it next year. We know what we got to do next year, Saquon. Now we'll go for it next year.
Well, the other part of it, Goon, is I don't think there's a player or coach out there, certainly not one worth their salt, who would trade winning a Super Bowl, and I get there's no guarantee here that the Eagles will win the Super Bowl, but you want that opportunity. That is a bigger deal than any single season record, right? Like,
sure.
It's just not. The records are wonderful, and I'm not saying they're not important, that they're irrelevant, but again, what they are trying to do is win a Super Bowl. And they certainly have a team that is capable of doing that this year. You don't risk anything that could derail that. You're doing everything within your power to give yourself the best opportunity to do that. And playing Saquon Barkley this Sunday does not give you the best opportunity to go win a Super Bowl. Again, it's just a simple risk-reward thing. And even the reward of setting a significant record, and it is a significant record, I just don't think that reward is worth the risk of Saquon Barkley not being available.
No, because you're right.
You
would be skewered.
And I think rightfully so.
Sure,
like that's
not just by the Philadelphia media, the national media would absolutely destroy the Philadelphia Eagles for that. Yes, we all want it. It would be a fantastic thing. And by the way, Eric Dickerson, complete jerk, by the way he's acting, physically saying, oh, I don't want him to win the record. It's my record. I like that record. And then he had the audacity to say that he did it in 16 games and Saquon needed 17. When you go back and say, hey, Eric, OJ had 14.
Yeah.
But you can't tell him that. I mean, have you ever a guy was that successful Have you ever seen him outside of football do anything?
No, but in fairness, I really don't.
I mean, he's like a guy. He just like shows up every once in a while. He's never really gotten involved with the media. Never gotten involved with any kind of he's not in public. But then he is now. Well, that's fine. I get it. I just think that he's probably not a likable person. That people don't want to be around him. And we were talking about Jerry Rice last week. Was at the 49ers game on Monday night, and it was just like, you're Jerry Rice. You don't need to be running around doing all this crap and this and that. But he's like, he's still Jerry Rice. I don't think Jerry Rice needs to wear a pendant that says GOAT. I think it's pretty well known that he's the GOAT. I don't think he needs to actually sell that him on his own. So,
yeah, I don't know. It doesn't bother me that.
I don't remember it.
Different guys, different personalities.
Well, do you remember? Was Dickerson catching crap because OJ did it in 14 games, like the Mickey Mantle
there
thing?
Were yes, there were people pointing.
So then he uses that excuse on Saquon.
Yeah, it's
F him. Go win a Super Bowl, Saquon, because Dickerson didn't do that either.
Well, that is the mission now for.
So Saquon's going to he was going to take his record, and Penn State was going to beat his college. So.
As far as Penn State, good. Let's start with hopefully Abdul Carter is okay. I think he will do everything within his power to play, as James Franklin said. I think I'll be surprised. I guess not shocked, but I'll be surprised if he's playing. I think. That felt like something that's a little more than, hey, give it a couple of days rest and you'll be all right. And again, the one of the more amazing things to me, and listen, obviously, I hope he plays and I hope he's 100%. If he doesn't play, again, I still think Penn State has an excellent chance to beat either Notre Dame or Georgia. Let's start there. Go. Do you have? I've been asked probably 3 or 4 times now. Who's your preference, Notre Dame or Georgia? Who do you think Penn State?
I don't think Notre Dame has played anybody, and I think that we can go out there, and they probably haven't seen our size and our speed, but they will tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how Georgia handles them, or how Notre Dame handles Notre Dame. I think that Georgia is beat up. I don't think this is the Georgia team in the last 3 or 4 years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I truly don't. I mean, we're playing a backup quarterback today. I got it. The offensive line's not great. So defensively, I don't think that they have like that mindset that Kirby Smart has had over the last few years, and that was just super athletes and super players are all over the field. I don't think they have that this year, and I think it's being proven a little bit that the SEC is not up to par as much as everybody was thinking. I think it's been a down year for the SEC, but Notre Dame hasn't played anybody. So I'm okay with either or. My personal opinion is I would love to play Notre Dame just because of the people I grew up with. You're from the Philadelphia area. You're like, it's either Penn State or Notre Dame.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
My answer, it doesn't really matter to me. I think there are challenges, matchup challenges either way, different challenges. I think the line play of Georgia is really good and would be a challenge for Penn State. I think the running quarterbacks, like the really good running quarterbacks, have been a problem for Penn State. Now, pretty much a problem for everybody, so it's not like Penn State's alone in that. But that matchup would concern me against Notre Dame.
Yeah,
the line play, and in particular the defensive line of Georgia, that is a concern for me in that game. The coaching matchup, there's no question Notre Dame players are all in and behind Marcus Freeman and Kirby Smart. I think it's pretty hard to argue that he's not the best coach in college football right now that's still coaching.
You still talk about Feinbaum now? Is he still in your head?
No, I do. I mean, listen, the records matter and what he's been able to accomplish. And actually, I would argue this season he's maybe done as good of a coaching job as he's done at any point with Georgia. Again, they've been showing the statistic leading up to this game, but they've trailed in 9 games this season. So there is something to being a team that finds a way to win, that knows how to win. And Kirby Smart knows how to win. Like that, you can say what you want about the SEC and whether you like Kirby Smart or you like Georgia. Like that program and that coach, they know how to win. They've done it consistently. Penn State, Notre Dame, there's history there. I think it's a great matchup, both this year and just historically. If they meet, I think that would be fun. And I think, again, fans would be super pumped to see that. I also think, again, Georgia, it's the SEC. It would be a chance for James Franklin. Part of me would like to see that matchup, if for no other reason than if Penn State wins it, Paul Feinbaum's head would explode.
I love it.
How he would not be able to get his mind around the incompetent James Franklin beating the greatest thing other than Nick Saban in the history of the sport, Kirby Smart. Like, it would not compute. Like, he would not be able to get his head around what he saw. So part of me wants that opportunity for Penn State and for James Franklin to just be able to put that in the pipe and let them smoke it of the Paul Feinbaum's and others of the
dozen years ago
world.
I could listen to Feinbaum, because the fun part of his show was listening to the crazies call in.
Yeah.
And be sitting there going, Alabama ain't going to lose the Bandit, and there's crazy, crazy stuff and this and that. And then he would just sort of mock them and this and that, keep your head on, this and that. But now he's so far in and so far enveloped by this SEC, the power of the SEC. It's absolutely insane. He's not even listenable. He's unlistenable at times.
So I want to stay with the matchup for a moment, though, because either way, it'll be indisputable that it is a marquee matchup. And if Penn State were to win it, a signature victory without any question.
Another top 10 victory we can claim
in the era. Here, though, so I do want to talk just for a moment. And listen, I think when you get this close, like, you want to see it finished off. Anytime you get to the semifinals in anything, like, man, you're 2 wins away. Go ahead and finish it off, win it, because you don't know. Again, I think we talked about it on Tuesday and maybe 2 weeks ago, but Penn State may have the same opportunity next year, or this may be the only opportunity in the James Franklin era. We don't know. Because you don't know, right? When you're there, like, man, go ahead and cash it. Finish this off.
Yeah.
Take it all the way. That being said, my contention is Penn State now has, by getting to the Final Four, has clearly, unquestionably taken the next step. James Franklin has clearly, unquestionably taken the next step. And that this season, even if Penn State were to get blown out, and I don't think Penn State, there's much chance of them getting blown out by either of these teams. But even if that were to happen, this is an unqualified, successful season for this Penn State program. They did what they set out, what everybody said was the objective. And even the most ardent James Franklin haters, you have to recognize getting to the Final Four is a huge step forward. It's something that they had not done before, in any era under James Franklin. And to have earned your way there by playing more games than any Penn State team in history has played during a season, by beating a couple of top 10 teams. I don't care if one was at home. I don't care if you're double-digit favorites. You won 2 games over top 10 teams to get there. And most importantly, you're there. You're one of the Final Four teams standing. Again, to me, there is now no way that you can qualify this season as anything but successful and mission accomplished in terms of, boy, we need to see this program take the next leap forward. That has been met. Now, again, will there be disappointment if you don't win the semifinal game? Of course. Again, you're this close. You feel like you have a team that can do it. You're playing the way that they have been here down the stretch. There's going to be disappointment. But the season and the narrative around James Franklin and his program, to me, that now has changed, and that reset has occurred by getting to the semifinals.
Absolutely. And then I don't want to hear anybody complain before this game even happens. And even if it does happen, it's like you said, even if they do get blown out, it's been a highly successful season, a place that we have not been in how long, Jeff? When was the last time we were number one? 1999, right?
Yeah.
And this is the first time in a long time we've actually been threatening to be. I mean, the whole playoff era, we never really even had a shot. 05? We would have had a shot then because, we were never going to get a national championship shot then because people complain about that. The Michigan 2 seconds, remember that?
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
Do I remember? Because
USC and Texas were going to go to that Rose Bowl. We were going to get screwed again, dude. I mean, there's no two ways about it. So, successful season beginning, no matter what. Interested, can't wait for this game to go watch this game. I think it's going to be a heck of a game in some weird environment.
And I really don't. I think both teams pose different matchup problems. I don't. My take is there's not any significant advantage matchup-wise for Penn State with one or the other. I think they're different challenges, but I think they're kind of equal challenges for the Nittany Lions. And I am expecting this. We'll see how it plays out. I think this is going to be
my personal opinion. I want to play Notre Dame.
Yeah,
not because I think that we match up better against Notre Dame. I just think I just know where I'm from, and I know how I grew up, and I know how Penn State and Notre Dame fans are with each other.
Yeah, I think either one gets fans super fired up, and for different reasons. Again, there's the history there, and I think, there's a lot of Notre Dame fans in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of Notre Dame fans everywhere, wherever there's Penn State fans.
But imagine South Florida this time of year with all the snowbirds.
But I also, there's just part of me, Goon, that would revel in the opportunity. Now, you got to cash in on the opportunity.
To smack around an SEC team.
But yes, not just an SEC team. But now the SEC standard bearer.
Yeah,
there's no question that Georgia has now surpassed
Tennessee was the standard bearer last week, and they got whooped.
Alabama is the standard bearer for that conference, and Kirby Smart, again, is the best coach, has been the most consistent coach in college football. To have that opportunity, I mean, you talk about, again, to me, James Franklin already in the program already did what they needed to do. You win that game over that program, that coach. Jeez. Like, what do you have left? You have nothing left then to argue about James Franklin not being able to. You get to the national championship game, and again, really, either of those
put that
teams,
one to bed. Hopefully,
yes, you get a win there.
Let's go. Big day, big weekend.
You have put the critics to bay. We will talk about all of that and more next Tuesday when next we get together with another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak and Lube. Until then, be good and be
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS,
your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, the Fox State College.